Hello and welcome to the big picture. Amid a lot of gloom in the economic scenario, what with the falling rupee, inflation and many other problems, there comes something to cheer about. News about the poverty levels declining quite significantly in the last 8 years. The latest NSSO data, as published in the Hindu today, indicates in the last 8 years, poverty levels have dipped by a very significant 15%, almost at 2% per year. The dip in the levels is also significant because during the period between 1999 and 2000 and 2004-05, the percentage decrease in poverty was just about 4%. So what are the reasons which has resulted in this considerable decline in poverty levels in the country? What is also interesting is that in some of the most backward states like Bihar, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, the decline in poverty levels are more than the national average. Also, the decline in rural poverty has been more than the urban poverty. What do these figures mean? How much of the decline is a result of increase in wealth in rural areas? What about inequality? What about employment? We will discuss all these issues today with an eminent panel of guests. I have with me Dr. Ravi Srivastava, Professor at the Center for the Study of Regional Development at the JNU, Narendra Jadhav, Member Planning Commission, Nikhil Dey of the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan will be joining us soon. Dr. Santosh Mehrotra, Director General, Institute of Applied Manpower Research, and Venkatesh Ramakrishna, Associate Editor, Frontline Magazine will also be joining us soon. Welcome to all of you. First, let me go to Mr. Narendra Jadhav. Mr. Jadhav, this is good news, what we have heard, what we have read, and that such a significant percentage decline has happened in these last 8 years is obviously a good news. But my question here is, do you think we can, this decline in poverty has resulted in reduction of inequality?
The news is very good that it's very clear that during the period 2004-05 to 2011-12, in a matter of 8 years, the extent of poverty has declined. The poverty ratio has declined by 15 percentage points. And so this is a very good news. Now, as far as the inequality is concerned, are we talking about inequality around between the states? Because if we are talking about that, it's very clear that those states which were laggards, some of them which were called Bimaru states earlier, they have done very well.
Dr. Jadhav,
and it's very clear
Dr.
that this is going to reduce.
Dr. Jadhav, sorry to intervene. I'm not talking of inequality between states. I'm talking of the general inequality, about which we have been discussing whether when we talk of growth, whether that growth will also reduce inequality, the growing inequality among people. I'm talking about the rich becoming richer and the poor becoming poorer. That is what I'm discussing.
Right. No, but this report is not about inequality of income. This report only shows that the percentage of population below poverty line has come down significantly. It is not possible to draw any inference from these data alone that whether or not the overall inequality of income, whether it has gone down or gone up. We cannot make a direct conclusion from this. For that, a separate analysis would be required.
Okay. We are joined in by now by Nikhil Dey. Nikhil, let me come to you. You are a man on the ground. You experience all these things firsthand. This news, what we have read today from the NSSO data, saying that there has been significant decline in the poverty levels. You think that this gets reflected on the ground? Have you been seeing it getting reflected on the ground?
Yeah, there is some things that are indisputable, and NSSO data has certainly got reliability about it. But I think it has to do also with this period when certain entitlements of people for the first time have been established. From 2004-05, we have NREGA, which has been established. We have certain food entitlements which have freed up income for people to be able to buy other things. So there is some amount in this period of time where something for the poor has been made available. But the point that you were just raising just now, the Gini coefficient of growing differences between the very rich and the poor.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you still have such large numbers of people in this country who are not only poor, they are malnourished, they do not have access to proper health care, and questions like education do not get enough kind of investment in them. I think in the future, if we want to see ourselves as an economic superpower, it is not enough for us to say that a few people have come above a very arbitrary poverty line, but to say that we need to reduce those inequalities and make for a more just society.
Absolutely. That still 26, almost 27 crore people who are supposed to be, in abject poverty. Let me come to Dr. Ravi Srivastava. Nikhil, you raised an important question there also. Yeah, Professor Ravi Srivastava, how do you define poverty?
Yeah, I mean, that is, as you know, in India has been a very big issue. There is currently a committee under Dr. Rangarajan, which is now going into this whole issue afresh. So let me say that the poverty line which we are talking about.
I'm sorry, I just want to say here that I'm not trying to be cynical about what we have seen or things like that, but we need to be a little, we need to look into these issues also, I think.
No, absolutely. I mean, the poverty line that we use, which is based on a consumption measure, has been critiqued, has been critiqued for several years. I mean, as part of the Arjun Sen Gupta committee, we looked at the consumption figures and we found that the poverty line was an inadequate description of the degree of deprivation and vulnerability which existed in the country. So we must understand that we do have some kind of a benchmark which is the poverty line, but where the poverty line should be pitched is really something which we need to discuss, and I think we must not place too much, too much emphasis on just people moving above this poverty line and so on, because all distributions of consumption in this country show that a lot of people are bunched near this kind of poverty line. So a small shift in real incomes actually moves them over the poverty line.
Right.
So we should be looking at broader measures of deprivation, inequality, malnutrition and so on when we are talking about well-being of the poorer people in this country.
But do you still agree that this is a very significant
I think
decline and this is something for us to cheer about?
No, absolutely. That firstly, let me say that this is something which, as Nikhil also said, and this is something which we do need to make a note of. We need to make a note of this, particularly because there is so much emphasis, undue emphasis, purely on the growth part of the story. Whereas what we are seeing is that the creation of entitlements, the increase in public investment that has taken place in this decade, because the poverty decline that we are witnessing is primarily due to the pump priming effect in the Indian economy, the increase in investments in the construction sector, which has drawn people out of the backward rural areas into the urban areas, in the service economy and in the construction sector, and has provided their households with a slightly higher levels of income.
Right.
So the NREGA, employment in the sort of growth engines of the Indian economy and so on are together accounting for the fact that there is a small rise in income. But let me say that this rise in income, the trade-off is that very high intensity of work, 10 to 12 hours to 15 hours of work in these urban centers, no social security, you have despicable conditions of living and so on and so forth.
Yes, I mean, it's interesting. This is very essential, especially in the context of the debate going on in this country, whether such entitlement schemes should be there at all or not. Let me come to Dr. Santosh Mehrotra. Santosh, the good news. You think this is good news, and you are a man who looks into employment and things like that. How do you correlate these two? The news about decline in poverty and the recent data which you were also talking about about increase in employment.
Right. We've done an analysis of the 2011-12 data from the NSS on employment, and there's very good news on employment, especially between 2010 and 2012. I'll come back to that in a minute, but I just want to emphasize the salience of the fact that there has been a significant decline in the absolute numbers of the consumption poor.
Yes.
You know, while I agree with Nikhil and with Ravi that, you know, capability deprivation is something that we must examine, and we are doing rather poorly on that. But the fact remains that, you know, before 2004-5, you had not seen an absolute decline in the numbers of the poor. You know, Dr. Jadhav rightly pointed to and you did, Girish, pointed to the decline in the incidence of poverty. But what I find far more significant is the fact that for 30 years prior to 2004-5, we didn't see any decline, almost no decline in the absolute numbers of the poor. In 1973-74, it was 322 million. 83, it was 320 million. In 93, it was 320 million. And 2004-5, it was 300 million. So for half the life of our nation over that period, 30 years.
What is the figure? Santosh, what is it? 300 million what? 300 million?
People who are below the poverty line.
300 million.
Yeah, exactly. And that number remains stuck. So while the incidence of poverty was declining over that 30-year period, the absolute number of the poor was not declining. Now, I think you put your finger on it, Girish, that after 2004-5, we've seen a dramatic decline in the absolute numbers of the poor, which I find extremely heartening.
14 crore people seems to have come out of the poverty.
Exactly. So the numbers I was just talking about were the Lakdawala line. That is the previous poverty line. Now I'm talking about the Tendulkar line. And the Tendulkar line, by the way, is slightly higher than the $25 of the World Bank per person per day. And look at the numbers. 2004-5 by the Tendulkar line, the absolute number of the poor was 405 million. In 2009-10, it fell to 356 million. And now it's fallen to some 2011-12, it has fallen to 265 million.
26.9 is 269 million.
But that's a dramatic change. And let me just sort of caveat what Ravi was saying, that while the conditions of work of these workers who are moving out of agriculture are not that great, but the fact of the matter is that everyone has recognized that the reason why consumption expenditure is increasing and poverty is declining is because rural wage rates have increased dramatically.
Because
and urban wage rates.
But Santosh, one question before I go to Venkatesh. This decline has led, you know, how do we correlate? Has this decline in poverty been because of the shift from agriculture to manufacturing or tertiary sectors in the urban areas?
Partly.
Or this shift has resulted in this decline? How do you correlate?
It's a combination. It's a combination. As people move out of agriculture, they're moving into construction where wage rates are higher. But we have to go back to why this is happening. You see, let's recall, as Nikhil rightly pointed out, in early 2006, there was Manrega introduced.
Right.
Now, that for the first time raised rural public employment wages. That had a knock-on effect on open market wages in rural areas. Before 2004-5, for about 5 years, rural wages were stagnant. And as a result of Narega, there was a rise in open market wages in rural areas. At the same time, construction boomed, both in rural as well as urban areas. So demand for labor outside of agriculture also boomed. So it was a combined effect of the two happening.
Okay, Venkatesh, I want you to look at what kind of a political impact this news will have.
Well, I think that this new piece of news is not going to have any real political impact. If you are looking at in terms of party politics, in terms of the kind of various formulations that we have on the government side, which is the pro-Congress side, and on the side of the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is the main. Because we are talking about certain schemes which have come up and how they have impacted the poverty numbers.
Right.
Whatever be the classification of poverty line that we have,
Yes.
As Ravi was saying, that is indeed debatable.
Right.
But I have my own understanding of the situation as somebody who is constantly traveling on the ground, meeting people, is that there is certainly a sense that the level of poverty is much lesser than what it was maybe a decade ago. But that by itself has not worked out into a political factor as of now.
But do you agree, Venkatesh, in 2009 Lok Sabha polls, Manrega, loan waiver, these were issues which actually gave a lot of political dividends to the Congress party or to the UPA. You expect this kind of results also giving some dividends to the present government? Well,
the situation is that we have had the impact of those schemes in the 2004-2009 period, but in the period after 2009, what we have seen is the rise of issues like price rise, uncontrolled price rise. That's a very important factor. So all this poverty reduction seems to be, at least in popular perception, the effects of poverty reduction are getting
blurred. Actually, they are getting blurred. It's not that they are not there, but getting blurred. Let me come to Dr. Narendra Jadhav. Dr. Jadhav, last several years, ever since the liberalization process started, there has always been doubts about the trickle-down effect. But do you think that, and we have been hearing about the importance of growth, and this government, especially in the last 8-9 years, has been, as Ravi was pointing out and others also pointing out, the focus has been on growth. Now, can you say that the trickle-down effect is having its impact?
Absolutely, yes. For a very long time, we have been saying, a lot of people have been saying, after the 1991 reforms, a lot of people have been saying that trickle-down effect is not taking place at all. The basic thing that we have been forgetting is that for trickle-down to take place, there must be sufficient growth in itself. If the level of growth is not enough, there would be nothing to trickle down. If you analyze these numbers, you will see that the states where steepest decline in poverty ratio has taken place happen to be the very states where the rate of growth has been higher. And looking at the country as a whole, you can also see that the growth rate during this period, 2004-05 to 2011-12, has been 8.5%. Right. This is unprecedented. And with the higher growth, there is a steeper decline in the poverty ratio. This clearly goes to show that the trickle-down theory is absolutely correct. Okay. At least it bears out from the data that we have seen now.
Can I just introduce a slight caveat? I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that...
I would have come to you, but anyway, I wanted to go to Nikhil, but yeah, you play, I'll go back to Nikhil.
There's absolutely no doubt that you need to take into account the growth process. And the quantity of growth is part of the growth process. But I think one needs to look at the character of the growth process. I think Professor Dr. Jadhav would agree with me that one of the things which has happened in the recent period is very significant amounts of public investment that have gone in basically construction-led activity, in public works, in the Golden Quadrilateral, in highways, in rural roads and so on, and a large proportion of this activity has been taken up in the poorer states.
Right.
So, it is Manrega, it is the pump priming effect of public investment along with increase in private investment that accounts for the kind of increase in demand that we see in employment, that we see in the rise in wages in rural areas. I mean, just to add to what Santosh was saying, yes, that wages have actually risen relatively more for females thanks to Manrega than for males. Males have generally moved out of agriculture. Females continue to remain. So, what you have is a fact that although employment has not increased very much in rural areas, but still
there has been
there's some income effect. And the trickle back in this case,
down, I'm talking of the trickle down.
There is a trickle back in this effect which is taking place from urban areas to rural areas, to some extent within rural areas itself. So, what I am saying is that when you analyze and disaggregate the trickle down is not only because growth in the abstract has happened, but it's also because significant, the UPA, in fact, it started maybe a little before the 2004, significant amount of investments were again made in the poorer regions of this country, were made on highways and construction activity and so on, and that has led to the nature of this growth process, which has led to the kind of knock-on effects of poverty.
You don't disagree with Dr. Jadhav.
I don't think we should fetishize growth in the abstract. We should look at where investments have been made, what are the employment impact of those investments, whether those employment impacts actually led to, to knock-on effects on poverty and so on, and in the regions concerned.
Okay. Nikhil, the trickle-down effect has worked, and that is what Dr. Jadhav says, and Dr. Ravi Srivastava, of course, has given a perspective to that. Nikhil?
Yeah, I don't think it's that the trickle-down theory has worked, because the trickle-down theory says that you just worry about growth on the top and the rest will trickle down. I think you need to worry at the bottom, and then perhaps you can pull some of that growth. That's not to say that you shouldn't have growth. I certainly think you need to think about what kind of growth and where that growth is going to be distributed and redistributed. What has happened significantly in this period is that some concentration has gone towards the poor. NREGA, as everyone has said on this panel, has played a very great role, not just in the 40,000 crores that's being transferred in income to every person going to work, but in the wage rates that it's affected.
Exactly, yeah.
It has prevented exploitation wages. It has been a market mechanism and allowed people to get much higher wages.
So this should
it's not just Manrega, it is also food security.
Exactly.
It is also giving a certain amount of economic security. Pensions, if the elderly do not get pensions, they cannot participate in the economy and they will all be poor. And that's 10% of our population.
Right.
So we have to understand that on poverty, we cannot talk about growth rates alone. We have to talk about measures to fight poverty, and some things have been working.
And
this will pay economic dividends provided you keep delivering on it.
Okay. Santosh, the question now is, rural poverty has declined more than urban poverty. Why do you think that has happened?
Oh, it's fairly straightforward actually. The data is suggesting very clearly that non-farm employment in rural areas has significantly gone up, and the gap between casual agriculture wages and casual non-agricultural wages in rural areas has actually increased. In other words, non-agricultural wages have risen faster than even agricultural wages. I was earlier referring to the agricultural wages. So you see across the board significant increase in real terms in rural wages, both non-farm as well as farm. But going back to the issue that Ravi was raising, and I fully sort of endorse the notion that Ravi was underlining, which is about the quality of growth. It's not just growth alone, but it's the quality and the character of growth. Now, I want to say just two things about it, if you give me half a minute. It's the following, that we do need to invest much more in agriculture to raise agricultural growth rates and agricultural incomes, because poverty is declining where agriculture is growing fast, and our agriculture has been growing even in the 11th plan period just by about 3.2% per annum, and we need to raise that. Point one. Point two, that it's highly likely that if we sustain the construction and the infrastructure investment which we are planning to do in the 12th five-year plan, then construction employment will continue to grow, and landless labor will move out of agriculture as they have, as we had predicted, and it's happening very significantly in the last 2 years as well. So non-farm as well as farm.
Okay, Dr. Jadhav, the theory, quickly. The theory is that when there is a shift of population from rural areas to urban areas, then the poverty declines. But here the results of the NSSO shows that there has been more decline in urban areas, in rural areas than in urban areas. How do you explain this dichotomy?
Rural areas.
The poverty in rural areas have declined more than in urban areas.
Right. Right, right. I think part of the answer is given by Santosh,
Yeah.
but let me continue with this. Earlier when you raised the issue about
Unequal growth.
The trickle-down effect.
Trickle down.
It's not, trickle-down effect does not only mean that it is the growth that matters and it automatically trickles down. My answer was that trickle-down that has taken place, this is a clear evidence that the trickle-down has actually taken place, and it has taken place not only partly because the growth rate has been higher, and also partly because the enormous increase in the social expenditure in terms of the rights-based commitments
Absolutely.
which have been given.
That-
And NREGA is the best possible
Absolutely.
example.
That has been pointed out by both Nikhil Dey and Ravi Srivastava. Venkatesh, the thing
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
Venkatesh, trickle down effect, there has been this controversy, there has been this debate in this country in the last several years of the UPA government, that the UPA government is focusing too much on growth and it is not bothered about the people at the lower level. But don't you think that these results will prove their theory that if you focus on growth, poverty will decline?
Well, it's extremely debatable, because we are debating this whole thing on the basis of a poverty line which is contracting and expanding as per the whims of one committee after another. So we need to look at it in real terms. If you look at it in real terms, I think the central issue, as Ravi earlier pointed out and as you earlier questioned, is the question of inequality.
Inequality. Okay.
So,
okay. We're completely running out of time. Nikhil, very quick last words to you. The issue of inequality, is this which needs to be tackled? But at the same time, are you happy with these figures?
It's a very important issue. We are facing many state elections and a general election. This is a time when political parties start responding to people.
Right.
I think they need to think about not just the figures, but where people really feel there will be a difference in their lives. Inequality matters to them, and delivery on basic services matters to them. I think that's where they should concentrate, so that we can see better programs and better delivery in the future.
Okay. I think on that note, sorry, Ravi, I have completely run out of time. On that note, we need to end. These were the good news, all right, that poverty has declined in such significant terms. But the reality, when you do the reality check, the fact of the matter is that there are still 26 crore people in poverty in this country, and the issue of inequality is also something which we need to keep in mind. Thanks to all my guests, Dr. Narendra Jadhav, Dr. Santosh Mehrotra, Nikhil Dey, Venkatesh Ramakrishnan and Dr. Ravi Srivastava. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on The Big Picture, same time tomorrow.